Welcome.
Stupid thing. Yeah, okay, it's gonna. Oh, man! What the? Yeah! Sweet.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the WiBit.net podcast, recorded live on September 9th, 2011. In this episode, Bryan and Kevin are going to talk about the Battle of the Forums. What side do you stand on, and who is going to win this war? We're also going to talk about some modifications that we're going to be making to the video format. What does this mean for you, especially those of you that have slower internet connections? How about another update on the WiBit.net mobile app? All this, some excellent, fun, and exciting news stories, and a whole lot more here on the WiBit.net podcast. For more content, you can find us on iTunes, wibit.podomatic.com, facebook.com/wibit, and of course, wibit.net, WIBIT.net. My audio is peaking. Hey, oh, oh, just hanging tough. There we go. Nothing like a little New Kids on the Block to do an audio test.
Just hanging tough?
Yeah.
What was that?
It's a New Kids on the Block song.
That's New Kids on the Block.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the WiBit.net podcast. Today we have me, Kevin, of course, and...
Bryan, that's it.
Yeah.
It's an empty house today.
It is an empty house, especially since it's just the two of us, and... we're the ones that have no personality, and we kind of suck, and whatever.
Yeah, and you hear enough of us talking.
I know, my God. I mean, how many of you guys, when you sleep at night, hear Bryan and I going back and forth? It's got to be a nightmare. I know, see, because I do a lot of the video editing, and I have to listen to us all the time, and I got to be honest, I hate Bryan and me very much.
Sometimes editing the videos is like in Back to the Future when... No, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
When the future Bill and Ted came up in the phone booth. You know?
What do they call Bill? What do they call it? It was like
Future Bill?
Yeah, was it Future Bill?
Like Future Bill, Future
Yeah.
Ted.
I don't know. Yeah. I gotta watch that movie again. That was a great movie. So, guys, we're gonna kind of start off like we usually do and talk about some of the updates that are happening on the website. The first one, Bryan, is that we are currently in the middle of a very heated voting session. What's going on with the forums? What's going on? What are we doing? Why am I here? What is the meaning of life?
So the forums have this structure currently where when you reply to somebody's post, it'll branch out /style, let's say. And so the sub-threads within a thread will branch out independently, and then you can reply to the entire thread, and it'll kind of continue down. And we were kind of internally debating whether or not this might be an unnecessarily confusing format. I know some people like it, but it may be better if, or not, if all of the thread posts are in a line, and you can like or say that a post is useful, and it'll bump its way up to the top. This may actually encourage more threads being created than currently, because right now you don't really need to create a new thread. You just kind of sort of reply to a different branch. And so without that, it might encourage more threads dedicated to the topic that somebody wants to talk about. Maybe not. So we let it up to the users to decide, and it's extremely close race. I think we're going to reveal the results of it tonight.
Now, I don't really know exactly, how this thing's going to turn out, but I will say this, just to kind of inject my opinion, because it's sort of likely that the results will be out before this podcast is actually out, because it takes a little while for iTunes and all that stuff to do that. But I got to be honest, Bryan, I personally do not like the current method. I don't
either.
I would rather, because I think it's kind of like being in a room with a lot of conversations, and you can barely hear the person that you're talking to because it's so loud. When I'm in the forums, that's how I feel. And we had a post recently where somebody kind of described that same feeling, and that kind of sparked us, to rethink the idea. So I hope that it changes, but, again, it's not my website. It's your guys' website. So whatever you guys want is what you're going to get. So if you don't like something, complain about it.
You want it, baby.
Yeah.
You got it.
Exactly. If you don't like something, complain about it, and we will put it up to the user base to make a decision for us.
Unless what you complain about just sucks, then we're going to ignore you.
Yeah, right. Yes, like we should have flying gorilla monkeys in the intro of every video, which actually sounds pretty good. We should put that up for a vote too.
I think if everybody supports the change, if this is change they can believe in, then we'll keep hope alive and
hope alive. we got to make a hope poster for this, where it's hope and it's like a linear form.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
We need to pass this change right away.
So we have also, we have reported on the last couple podcasts about the idea of offline content. Now, one of the reasons that this is kind of a big deal for us is because some of you guys coming from areas that don't have broadband and high-speed connections are often complaining that, it just takes me too long to stream the video from your server. Well, the WiBit.net crew put some time in this afternoon to start investigating some better ways that we can compress the videos so that we can deliver them faster to those of you guys that do not have quick connections. Bryan, I know that we've been working on putting together a new configuration for an X264 encoding.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to be testing that with the Java course and the beta testers here, probably, if not this weekend, mid next week.
Yeah, and what does it? It seem like it's going to cut the courses in half and cut the labs down to about 3/5 the size?
Yeah, because the labs, those of you guys that pay attention, the labs have a higher frame rate because we're moving around. And
and you shouldn't see any visible difference when we switch the compression, too. So you'll just notice the videos will appear faster.
Yes. The videos will stream faster. If you're on a broadband, you probably won't notice a difference, but we are literally cutting most of the files in half with this new configuration. So, speedier for you and easier for us to manage on the server side. So, Bryan, we also have a very wonderful update about the mobile app, too.
It's true. It's about done. So, apart from some testing left to go, we hope to push it up to the App Store soon. We're going to release the intro first. And then the subsequent languages after that. And we hope to have a preview video so you guys can take a look to see what it looks like on the iPad and the iPhone up on our site next week.
Yep, and it's coming up real fast. And I want to say, Bryan, you've done a really great job putting this together. This has been a Bryan project. He did this all on his own. I helped.
So when it crashes all the time, you can send me hate mail.
Well, I helped with some of the design and I helped with some of the data sets, but the actual iPhone development work was all Bryan. So when it crashes, again, like Bryan just said, when you want to get angry at the Apple support folks, just email Bryan directly. That's Bryan@WiBit.net, and he will accept executable files that contain viruses, and he will open them.
Especially if there's like a half-naked woman dancing and a repeating, like a little short loop.
You really want to get Bryan to click on a virus link, make it a picture of a sloth. He's got a thing for sloths.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if I'd resist, especially a sloth bending over, looking over its back at you.
So, Bryan, I had an opportunity today to start looking at the mobile app. Tell us a little bit about the transitions and the features that the mobile app is going to have.
The mobile app will have all of our content except for the attachments, which you can just go to the website and get the attachments. It'll have the courses and it'll have the labs. And there's also a quick reference view, which will show the entire language at a glance. And you can zoom in and out of, let's say it's C++. You can just hit quick reference and then you see, loops. You put pinch to zoom in like you do on the mobile devices. And you zoom into the loop section. You'll see all the loops, an example of them. Just at a very fast, way to jog your memory. And, oh, yeah, that's right. That's how for loop works.
Right.
In the intro, for example, the whole ASCII table is in there. So if you don't feel like going to Google, search for ASCII table or whatever, and you're already in the app, you can just say quick reference, open up the ASCII table, done. So it'll be pretty nice. But it'll be a universal app, so you won't have to get a separate app for the iPad and the iPhone. And right now, we don't support Android or BlackBerry, but it's something that we may consider in the future.
It depends on what you guys want. We're going to start with the Apple devices because it certainly seems from some of the statistics that we have from the site that the majority of our mobile users are iOS users. So we're going to try to give you guys something. And also, Bryan is quite proficient with Apple development, too. So that kind of works out in two ways.
And I like the iPads.
So we're going to be releasing one app per course. So as Brian was saying, the Introduction to Computer Programming course will be the first app that we deliver. Then we're going to create and release another app for programming in C, Intro to Object-Oriented Programming, yada 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 yada. And we're going to try to get in a trend of releasing the content via mobile app first for those of you guys that are kind of prosumers and you want to get your hands on the stuff quick, and then we'll release it on the site next. So we're going to probably try that with Java, right, Brian?
Yep, absolutely.
So we're going to try to get the Java app out first, and then we'll get the Java course on the website out after that. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to it as much as we are, because it's going to be an amazing addition to the WiBit.net community. We think, anyway.
I think so too. Now that it's on my devices, I prefer using it to the website.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you were saying to me yesterday.
Although it's not quite the same because we made the content, so I'm not watching the content live.
You're not using the content. You're just viewing it for testing.
Yeah, but I'm enjoying viewing it for testing a lot. On a personal level.
Yeah, and we're also actually as part of the codec conversion that we're going through, we're going to be optimizing video for the mobile devices, so you don't have to deal with super large files. You know, when you're going to, because the video file, the apps are really mostly designed for offline viewing, and there's a couple other features as well. But the offline viewing, you're obviously going to have to store the videos locally. So we're doing a lot of work, and that was part of this codec conversion is based on our working with the mobile app, is to get those files really small but optimized for the device. So it's going to look really good. We promise. It's going to look amazing. Probably better than some of you guys see it on the website. Maybe. I don't know.
You'll just have to get it and find out?
You'll have to get it and find out. Now, Brian, we were having a discussion earlier today about some Java stuff that you wanted to complain about. Yeah, what's going on with Java?
So, I wanted to bring up a little Java tidbit in the Java corner, Brian's Java corner, which is a dark and damp, dirty place. Okay, so if you're in Java and you have a string, let's say X, you know? Now, if X is set to be just two quotes, like an empty string, one thing that you can do, which is strange, is you can say X equal, quote. So what's strange about that is a string is an object. And because it's an object, it's referring to a location in memory, right? Mm-hmm. Easy. So you never say a string equal another string in Java. That's absurd. You always say a string dot equals, and then parentheses pass in the other string as an argument. But for some reason, when you compare a string equal to a empty double quote, it will successfully perform that comparison. So it seems. So I thought this was very strange, and I thought it was really unusual that Java in some cases actually can do, if you have string X is so, WiBit.net, and then string Y is also equal to WiBit.net, you can do X equal Y, and it will actually compare those values. What's strange is it's the way that Java handles an object, and here's how it goes. If you say X is equal to, in quotes, WiBit.net, that is completely different than saying string X is a new string and passing into the constructor WiBit.net. So one is considered like the canonical form, and the other is not. And where the problem happens is if you pass something in as a constructor, Java says, oh, well, that object's been like modified. You know what I mean? And it handles it differently. So from that point on, it'll handle the string object as an object. Otherwise, it'll just handle the string as like a string data type. Do you know what I mean? But the problem is you can say like X equals quote WiBit.net quote, and then later do any kind of operation on the string object, and then it breaks out of that, it turns back into like an object, so to speak, as far as the comparison operator is concerned. So it's really stupid. It's a horrible, horrible thing that they've done. I don't know why they implemented it this way. It's just retarded. In any event, if you're going to compare a string to an equals, just don't do that. Just stay away from it. Just do a string dot equals and pass something. Now, if you want to handle for the null condition, and that's some of your motivation or whatever, the best way to compare to an empty string is if you do quote dot equals and then pass your variable, and because your variable could be null, so that'll kind of protect that case and that condition. But so even if you see that it's successful, and we kind of mentioned it in the course, which doesn't exist yet, and you'll see, that you don't want to make that type of comparison. Trust me, you really don't want to make that type of comparison. So always be using dot equals. That's the moral of the story. Isn't that weird?
That is quite weird. And it just adds, credibility to my hatred of Java.
Oh, let me count the ways.
Yes.
I think we're spiteful people. We always hate stuff, don't we? It's kind of
We
fun.
hate stuff. Well, we also, it's weird because we also love stuff that we hate.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so it's just one of those things. So there's a couple of items in the news that we're just gonna kind of brush over. First, that's kind of interesting, Brian, is there were some terrified folks this past week that were unable to access their Google Docs because of a massive Google Docs outage.
Oh.
And some people are kind of concerned. You know, this grows the concern to our heavy reliance and our growing reliance on cloud computing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian, what are your thoughts about that, if any?
Well, here's my thought on cloud computing for that type of application. If I have banking information, it's going to be stored out into a website somewhere, you know? And I'm going to trust that the bank that I bank with is allowed to access my information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, it's not like I'm going through Google on behalf of my bank and they have all my banking information too, right? Do you know what I mean? And so the same thing applies with, you know, my health insurance and anything else. So one of the problems with these type of like office application online service things where it's fine for personal use, where it's not so fine is if you're a business. Not only are you relying on the internet connection, not only are you relying on the fact that they're never going to be down,
Right.
and not only the fact that they may accidentally delete your data or something could go wrong, like that all aside,
Right.
that probably won't happen. Let's just assume the best. Even more importantly, your business's knowledge is now on a server of a company whose, you know, goal is to make profit.
Right.
And to study information.
Yeah, and yes.
So who knows
right.
what kind of their privacy agreement can change, and it doesn't have to pop up and you have to accept it. It can just change, you know, for something seemingly unrelated.
And it
all
can
the rest
change
of
for
it. So-
5 minutes, and they run a process on your work, and then they change it back. You never know.
So Google Docs for anything outside of like the only time I've seen a lot of people use it, I've seen a lot of people try to use it for maybe about a half a year and then it fizzles out. I saw people use it for sharing spreadsheets for a while, but then once Dropbox came out, that
Yeah.
kind of blew that out for people who use Dropbox. So
Right.
I think it still has some personal applications, but I really don't see Google Docs as any type of heavy hitter that's going to have any type of impact on Microsoft's, you know, stranglehold of Office products and businesses. I don't think it's even going to dent it, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things too. I mean, if you're going to rely on that type of technology for your business, you need to be able to prepare or handle downtimes. It's just a part of being in the internet world. You know, when we lost power here when the hurricane hit, you know, I couldn't do anything, and it makes you painfully aware of how heavily reliant you are on this stuff for your daily life when you don't have access to it.
Yeah, here's what I think. I think when they developed Chrome apps, I don't think Chrome apps were a horribly bad idea, but here's where I think it went a little wrong. The Chrome app should be able to show more clearly that it is running offline or online.
Yeah.
You should have a clear indicator that it's required, because let's say there's a Google Docs Chrome app. I don't think it can run in offline mode, but it should be able to, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And you should be able to save it locally to Chrome with an indicator that those documents haven't been synchronized up with the internet because you haven't been on the internet. As far as my knowledge, I don't think it works that way, but I think it should, and I think there should be a clear indicator that that works, so that if you do have these kind of applications, you're not completely dead in the water if you have any kind of internet downtime. And that's not – businesses have internet downtime from their lines coming in. Well, it's not always because their server goes down, you know?
Speaking of I'm sorry. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
No, I was just going to have a really distasteful segue to your dead in the water comment.
Okay.
Recently, CBS News had to apologize for tweeting that Steve Jobs was dead. And
really?
They had to apologize for it and remove it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Steve Jobs is not dead, people. Not yet. He's
I
just.
wonder how that happened.
They probably watched that episode of TMZ that you watched. Windows 8 is also going to be coming out with a super fast boot mode that's going to help your PC boot up very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and what do they do? Just remove reflection, Brian? Is that what they did? I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah. You know, I'm one of those people that leaves my machine on all the time.
Yeah, I don't understand this whole Wake Online business and the whole. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And
my computer's on all the time, 24 hours a day.
A lot of times when I see machines that take a long time to boot, it's because oftentimes they have a company PC. They have a lot of startup scripts that they run.
Yeah.
That's
or
what takes
like
forever.
A encrypted hard drive or something, and they're the system that manages it is kind of written.
You have some really crappy old hardware that's just on its last leg.
Yep.
And that's just that.
So, how about one last news story? So, as it turns out, Google bought Zagat.
Yeah.
So when you go to a restaurant and there's like the Zagat survey on the window, they do like, it's a great survey company, and they survey restaurants and say whether it's good or not. And I know they've been hurting a little bit because online, like user community based reviews are kind of coming up a little bit. But anyway, so Google buys them, and they have been targeting Groupon for quite a while, but you can definitely tell that it's a strategic move to try to start, working their grubby little advertisement hands all over the damn place. And I'm kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place. Like, if you don't have to compete with everything, and you're not going to succeed if you compete with everything. Groupon's a fine service. Just leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like their Yelp is a fine service. Just leave it alone. Like, you don't have to be everything to everyone all the time.
Yeah, but see, that's the nature of capitalism, though, Brian. Keeping those investors throwing their money at you is you just give them some stupid idea that we're going to get into this business. We're going to get into this business.
How about Google search is starting to kind of suck ass, and Google Maps blows a big donkey.
But that's what happens for some reason in American business is they always make great things bad because you got to keep the investors happy. And I think that's what's wrong with stability. What's wrong with consistency?
Just improve what you're good at.
Right.
Yeah. Like, pick something and be good at it.
I mean,
you don't see Apple getting into every last bit of business. They're strictly staying to be mobile devices, and even their desktops and laptops, as much as they can, they're trying to fold them into being just mobile devices.
Why is the .NET framework so awesome? The .NET framework is awesome because it's separated. They have different areas that are responsible for different things.
Yes.
And it works in a cohesive unit.
Yep.
If you tried to have the system namespace do everything, it would just be a terrible, terrible mess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And actually, Brian, I learned something today. You know what the worst virus you can possibly have on your computer is? It's called Skype. You heard of this thing? Every time I see the Skype virus running, I see 300 megabytes of my RAM being consumed and 99% of my CPU just listening to just doing a freaking internet call. Man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us here on the WiBit.net podcast. Brian, do you have any final words?
Until next time, it's going to be really interesting. Brace yourselves. We're going to have a debate about the Android versus Apple user communities.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody. For more content, you can find us on iTunes, wibit.podomatic.com, facebook.com/wibit, and of course, wibit.net, WIBIT.net.